day off. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Catherine. So the theme chosen for this panel discussion is why digital privacy matters. Okay, before I introduce our moderator and panelists, I would like to invite them to their seats. Okay, our moderator for today is Mr. Homam Alghorani, CEO of Wonderland Technologies Sdn Bhd. Okay, starting from my far right is Ms. Sheznie Merican, CEO of Check It Out Worldwide. Mr. Kenneth Ho, CEO of BIM, and Patrick Klotz, CEO of Data Links Malaysia. Okay, without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Homam Alghorani to begin the panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shaban. So, today is the day. So I hope you guys enjoyed your lunch, you enjoyed the pizza. So, can you go to the next one? So, I will talk a bit in a few seconds about Startups.zone. So, Startups.zone started as a small gathering for startup founders, for entrepreneurs, students, and we just sit down, and we were a small gathering like this, so we just sit down and talk about the challenges we have, about technology, about things we are passionate about. So you can see this is the first 3 meetups we had, and today we have the 4th meetup, which is for the first time. It is in this style. We have the first panel discussion ever. So I'm very glad that you guys took the time to come on weekend to share with us and to learn more, and we hope we can add value, and we can, when you exit today, you can have something that change your life or change your perspective about things. So, we going to start? Okay. Mr. Can you introduce yourself? Tell us a bit about your background, so the audience will know.
Hi, my name is Sheznie, and I'm from Check It Out Worldwide. What we do is we create solutions for smarter homes, and the reason being is that I've had about 20 years experience in retail, tech, and branding in other corporations such as Walmart and Petronas and Habib Jewels. So from my experience, I've decided to the last 4 years to create my own brand of products, which will be coming soon to the market, hopefully the next year. And if you have any questions about either branding or marketing, I also do training on branding and marketing with BAC College. So we have back for live sessions every month. And I'm glad to have met Homam during one of my meetings about AI especially, and I was very intrigued with this technology. So thank you so much for you guys being here, and I'll pass it to Ken.
Hi, my name is Ken. So I'm a CEO of BIM. I'm what people call a serial entrepreneur. So basically you eat cereal and you're trying to do your business because you have no money to continue the business. So actually I started my entrepreneurial journey when I was 17. And so when I was younger, I moved to Japan, and I was very homesick. I wanted to come back, and I had no money. So I started selling websites, and eventually I made a website that did something quite useful, and I sold it for about $160,000 at that time. I had 2 exits when I was much younger. So the second exit came when I was 24 years old. I was running.
What was that website? What website?
Instant Digital. Yeah, it's Instant Digital. Basically, what we used to do was back then people used forums. And a lot of people wanted to make forums, but there was no one in their forum, and there was nothing in their forum. So they needed to populate their forum with content. And so what we did was we made a scraper. We pull Yahoo answers and put it inside the forum. so you can fake it till you make it, yeah. And then people bought it like a license, like they paid I think $70 for one license. And eventually a bigger company saw that this was quite useful because they were providing forum software. So they bought it. And then eventually I went on to start a training company, which did pretty well, but I had a falling out with the management team. So I was sort of booted out of the company. And then I started a third company, which actually failed. And in the process of building the third company, I realized that networking is really important. And so I started an event to bring together entrepreneurs. And the event was called Bridging Entrepreneurs Across Malaysia. So that's how Beam started. And today, Beam is in about 20 countries. We're basically an entrepreneurial platform to chat. So if you're looking to meet other entrepreneurs or investors or developers, you can download it. It's free. Just look for Beam on the App Store.
Thank you, Kenneth. Maybe Patrick, you can introduce yourself and that link.
Thank you very much, Homam, and thank you everyone for coming here today. My name is Patrick. I'm a Swiss citizen. In Malaysia since 3.5 years. I came via China. I lived in Shanghai 2 years. My background is in IT security. And then after relocating here, I connected with a new company, Data Links, and we're focusing more on data analytics. So we're providing an end-to-end data analytics platform. So we're not generating data, and also we try to not have any liabilities with the data itself. We just work with customers' data. We help the customer to gain some valuable insights with data in their companies.
Okay, thank you. So let's start with the first question here. Like it's a topic we call it. So why digital privacy matter? Why do you think, Patrick?
Yeah, that's the best question at the beginning. I mean, why does it matter?
In your perspective,
yeah,
why do you think?
Yeah, I would like first of all answer it in a very simple way, and then we have another discussion around that. I mean, it's the same question as like why does physical privacy matter? I think it's nothing else. Now it's just one of those, but in the end, you want to protect the very same that you want to protect, like in earlier lives.
So because if you see now the line between our like offline privacy and online privacy is really blurring. Now you can find so many information about someone from online and link it to his physical or to identify that person. So like maybe you can elaborate more on that.
Yeah, I think that the good term you use is like how can you identify someone? And just this morning I was looking up like how much do you need to anonymize that you cannot identify someone anymore? And it's a very good example from the US where they shared healthcare data and they anonymized it. So it said, okay, we just provide you with the gender. If it's male or female, we provide you with the zip code and the birth date of the person, right? And then it's anonymized. And basically some students figured out that with like a 65% accuracy, they could still figure out who that was. So much for the anonymization.
Actually, I think I heard about this story. So the person who released this data, I don't remember, it is in the US administration. So the professor crossed the data he released without names, even the data without name, with the voters list. And through the zip code, through the birthday, through the gender,
Yeah.
she can point it back at the family of this guy, and then she mailed him his health profile. So this is how dangerous it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the question was like, okay, how much can you figure out, or what should you protect? I mean, the question is, how open are you to share about your personal data? Is it okay for you to share your health data with everyone or not? And what we discussed just before with a couple of people, I think there's a lot depends on like where or how you grew up, the geolocation, what is common sense in your country. Then of course also it's a question of generations. Maybe my generation shares a little bit less than the younger generation, and but also more than the older generation. It's really a difference.
Yeah. Maybe we can move to Kenneth. Do you have any something to add on why digital privacy matters from your perspective, especially you own?
Yeah, sure. So just for the record, I'm not an expert in this topic. Thanks for inviting me anyway. Maybe I can use a story here. So the question, why does it matter? Well, I think it really depends on the type of data that is being exposed, right? So what happened, right, was that as Beam started growing, we started to get a lot of emails. And a lot of people were kind of angry when they emailed in. They said, hey, I want you to delete my account. And like delete it from deletion, you know, like I don't want to exist. So I was wondering, why would anyone want us to delete their account? Like, you know, like this is a business platform, right? You know, more people in the business world can know you, right? And so it turns out that, you know, when you create a profile, Google indexes it, right? And then you search for, let's say, Kenneth, and then my company comes up, right? And what I found was that there were a lot of entrepreneurs who actually failed in their company. And then they didn't want people to know that they failed, right? But the data that was indexed, right, it's like old data. So in order for them to like...
Because for them, this is my identity,
yeah,
this is my
so,
profile, I own it. Yeah.
So they didn't want like the past data to affect their future career, right, in that sense. And so we were like, okay, we can delete it. The best we can do is delete it, but some of the indexed information is still on Google, right? And we can't really remove that. We have to wait until Google overrides it with something new, right? And so I guess like in that case, I mean, there are many cases, right? But the main point is that we don't want certain people to know about certain things, you know, that may affect our future kind of thing. And I guess that's why it matters a lot. So like nowadays we can...
So in your opinion, this will take me to the next question. Who really owns the data? Is it the person who subscribes to your service on the data and he has the right to say what is available for public or no? Or do you as a service provider own the data?
Okay, this is a very controversial question. So there's two parts to this. Let me try to remember if I can remember what I need to say. Okay, so the problem today, and especially Facebook, right, is that, okay, do you guys know what's the difference between secrecy and privacy? So in short, secrecy is basically you don't want, there's something bad that happened, you know, or something that happened, and you don't want people to know about it out of fear, right? Because, you know, maybe you did some shit and then, you know, you don't want people to know about it. Privacy, on the other hand, is more voluntary, where you could have put it out there because you don't mind certain people knowing about it, but only to a certain crowd, right? And so the problem with the world today is, like for platforms like Facebook and all that, is that now anyone can contribute to your identity. Like I can tag this guy, I'm on video right now, shit, okay, so later I'm gonna be on Facebook, right? And so that in itself, whatever I'm saying here is recorded, right, let's say. It's probably gonna be tagged as a Kenneth talking about data privacy, although he doesn't know anything about data privacy. People will know about it, right? So that's not very good, yeah. So I guess the second question is who owns the data, right? It's the same thing when you talk about who owns the company, right? If a company raises money from a venture capital firm, who owns the company, right? Yes, on the cap table, they own 10%, right? The VC owns 10%.
Because I will give you an example. I saw like, you know, some photo sharing services. If you share your photo there, in the terms and conditions, these guys make it.
Yeah,
they
so
own
it is terms. Yeah,
so maybe they can sell your picture to advertisers. Next thing you know, your picture is on the ad. So
yeah, so this is, I guess, the problem and why all these new regulations. You see, the thing is when technology and internet came out, the regulation and the laws didn't catch up to it fast enough. But it still hasn't caught up to it right now, and it's very reactionary where something happens, then they try to fix it, right?
Yeah.
And then they realize, oh, okay, but although we fixed this, we didn't see that this new thing's going to happen. So a lot of companies, they have these terms, like Facebook has these terms where whatever you post on Facebook belongs to Facebook. I'm not sure what it is now, but I think Flickr did something like this, where whatever pictures you post, it belongs to Flickr, they can sell it, they can watermark it, it's yours, but it's also theirs. So I think this is starting to change, and I think this was this change was sort of pioneered by Apple a little bit, where Steve Jobs actually came out and said that privacy is, people need to know what they're signing up for in plain English.
Yes.
Because a lot of
we can understand.
yeah, because a lot of stuff is terms and conditions, and no one reads.
Some Indian lawyers, cannot figure out what they say.
Yeah, but you have to agree in order to use it.
So
So you basically have no choice, right? Yeah.
okay, maybe we can move to Shez. Okay, so in your opinion, why digital privacy matters again? Like, if we look at the class of people, like the lowest class usually has the least amount of privacy. For example, if we talk about prisoners, like prisoners has almost no privacy. If you talk about animals, let's say if you walking a dog and your dog want to go, so you just stand there and watch it. Like, there is no privacy there. But the more we go higher in society, we start to realize how important is our privacy, right? That's why we have, like, people like to have a private jet, for example, because it's a private. So from your perspective, I'd like to know, from your perspective, why digital privacy, and also maybe for is it different for a woman? Is woman, let's say, require more privacy, or I don't know.
Well, I think in terms of why it matters now is probably because people see more of it being breached, and a lot of why it matters is because of the power of either governments or companies.
Okay, I can maybe rephrase it. Does it really matter for some people? Maybe some people
some
think,
may not.
what the hell,
Yeah,
I have nothing to hide.
I think that's why they came up with the phrase, like, it's none of your own business, or it's like too much information, or, those kind of phrases exist because of the type of information that people are inundated daily. Because right now, I guess from my point of view as a mom with 3 girls, okay,
Yeah,
so my concern is like my eldest daughter, who's 21, she had a lot of issues with other girls cyberbullying her.
Yeah.
And it's I guess it's the information, even if it's just a picture, or maybe it's a comment that she made, it's something that you don't think that people take it lightly, but it could actually damage people's lives sometimes. So that's why digital privacy matters, is because when it affects your life, when it becomes personal, when it's no longer for a business use, or it's now personal because it affects your reputation.
Sure.
So when it affects your reputation, as Kenneth was saying, let's say you have had some past mistakes that you don't want people to know about, and people deserve a second chance. In life, even though they've been a prisoner, or even if they've had something, a wrongdoing. And any time that
it can be taken out of context, or you can be judged if someone position it in certain way.
Yeah, and with brands, that's how brands actually have to look at how even one comment in their social media will affect their whole brand image. Because that one comment is heard worldwide.
Yeah. Or let's say if some data leaked by mistake or by hacking or something, that would affect their work.
Exactly. Even if you saw the video where some Domino's employees were doing a hoax, they were spitting into the food, right? And it was just a joke. The CEO of the company had to apologize to the rest of the world. And there's 2 people who were just joking around were fired. You know, so there's so many implications with digital privacy methods, because once it becomes personal, once it affects your life, that's when you know how much it matters.
Okay. So let's say our students.
Yeah, I just want to add something. Like, because you had a good comment before. It's like it said, well, does it digital privacy matter, or you have something to hide, right? I heard that argument before. People ask me like, oh, if your life is clean, right? You did nothing bad. You always behave well. You have nothing to hide. Okay? Basically, you can make it all open, right? I want to quickly check with the audience. Like, anyone here saying like, oh, I have nothing to hide at all in my life.
Just
No one. Everyone has to hide something. I'm impressed. Because like I wanted to ask the one who is like raising a hand if he can just share like his email passwords or his account details for the WhatsApp or WeChat. I think that is the differentiator here, right?
Usually nobody will accept this channel.
Usually some people raise their hand and say, yeah, I have nothing to hide. And then I ask, okay,
when you ask that,
send me all the account details, and then it's like, yeah, I don't want to do that, right? I have nothing to hide. I still don't want to do that, right? I don't want to share everything.
Okay. Maybe we can go back to Shez. I want to ask, like, what do you think? What is then the role of the government? Should government be involved? Should they come up with like regulation, like what we see in Europe, or even in Malaysia? Last time we had the PDPA. So what do you think the role of government should be?
I think as the government is supposed to kind of protect their citizens in any way that they can, whether it's in the country or out of the country, and information based on that. I mean, if you were, just like right now, there's so much, I guess, there's a lot of controversy about the killing of that journalist, for example, in the Middle East, right? Yeah, so I mean, like, it's more about like when do governments step in when it's a personal issue, when it's a personal information. It's basically right now with the PDPA, it's not sufficient.
Like as Kenneth said, they're always behind. They cannot catch up with the new thing. Like PDPA was from 2010.
Yeah, 2010 and was.
So we already
yeah, that's right. And it's only for like commercial purposes and not really towards like mobile apps, for example.
If I understand it correctly, there's no enforcement. Like the worst thing people can do is file a report, and then it's a PR thing. There is no fine. There is no prosecution, there's nothing if your data was given to.
Yeah, it goes back to enforcement in the country in general. Not only just the PDPA, commission. It's also our police force. It also there's a lot to do with the government itself. But I think in terms of in general how government should be part of this digital privacy is that they need to be able to protect the citizens when it comes to making sure that their safety is safeguarded.
Yeah, but if we think about it from different angle, can we really trust governments in the first place to come up with laws and regulation for privacy? And in many countries, if you know, they are the first one who actually spy on people. So we are asking now, like the thief to guard the chicken. This is like how I see it sometimes. Is it because like is it should be a company self-policing itself, or is it the government should put the regulation, or is it maybe an NGO, or we leave it, let's say, for the United Nations? Or
I think firstly it has to come from the individual itself. How you protect your own privacy. Because sometimes it's not the fault of the governing bodies, it's actually how you take your information and put it out there. If there was enough, courses or education for people to safeguard their privacy.
So you think government should actually educate?
Mhm.
That's their main
I mean, that's probably more effective way instead of going from the like, how do I punish the wrongdoer? Let's go to the basically from the source of the problem is how do we as human beings, how we communicate each other, make sure that we don't share too much information about our location, about our private life.
Doesn't need to know my location. Why I should give it?
Exactly.
Maybe I can move to Patrick and then I will go back to Kenneth to ask him a related question. So Patrick, you are from Switzerland. What can you tell us about the GDPR? Like how it affects the Europeans and how also it affects even overseas company like Malaysian company, for example, or Singaporean company.
Okay. So interestingly, I'm Swiss. So for
Swiss not for the
European, so they know, or the European Union citizens, they know Swiss is not part of the EU. We always talk about it, right? No, I can still talk about it because the point is it really affects everyone, and that is something that most of the people are not aware. The law is written for EU citizens regardless of where they are. So when I was looking up a little bit, well, if you read the whole policy, it's quite long, and I'm not a lawyer, but if you look up YouTube videos, that is also quite interesting. Like they try to explain the 5,000 pages documents in a 3 minutes video, and what you can find is very interesting. Like when they start already, it's like, it is to protect everyone that lives in the EU. I was like, not sure about that. Then they change it to, it protects all EU citizens in the EU.
In the EU.
But the fact is, it's a law for EU citizens, regardless of where they live.
So let's say if someone is an EU citizen who came to Malaysia as a tourist and then he take a Grab car, then Grab should comply with the GDPR.
Correct. Yeah, that is the scary part of it. I mean, it says whichever company is collecting data about a new citizen has to comply with GDPR.
Do you know what is the things in GDPR, like the person, what are his rights? Like for example, the right to be forgotten.
Correct. Basically, it's
can
rights.
you go to the previous slide because the light from the previous one? Is this better?
Oh yeah, I like this. It's this that changed. I thought it was higher before and tried to do that. Thank you. Basically, there's 12 rights, but I don't want to make a 3-minute YouTube video here, so
maybe like
but
2 or 3.
Yeah, 2 or 3. I mean, basically, it is common sense, right?
Okay.
You have the right to know why a company is collecting data about you. You have the right that the company collects data about you, but only for that reason. So they cannot just say, okay, I collected because I want to do A, and then they do B. Cannot. So they will need to ask you again, are you also okay that I collected for reason B? There's a right of the duration. So they say, I collect your data and I keep it for 1 year. And you see, that's like when you like a company like offering services, it gets worse and worse because then it's like, oh wow, I have to think about how long can I store the data, and then I need to make sure that after that time I'm deleting the data, or I ask the guy again if I can keep it longer. And there's the right that people can look into the data, so they can ask you, please send me all the data you have collected about me.
What you have?
Yeah, send me everything you have about me. You have the right to change that data. When you see something is wrong, you can ask to change it. And of course, you have the right to be forgotten. So you can ask the company that your data is deleted, and they have to send you evidence that they did that. that is
And I think
maybe a
if they
topic
don't-
for Colombia analytics.
If they don't comply, I understand the fine is about 20 million or 25 million euro.
Up to, yeah. What they did is like, that was scary. They said the punishment can be 4%,
Whichever
up to
higher.
4% of your revenue. So it's not of your profit,
Yeah.
it's about your revenue. So
4% of your revenue,
4% or 20 million.
or 20 million,
Yeah.
whichever higher.
Correct, yeah. If you don't comply. And that is, Kenneth just
Yeah,
mentioned
that-
before, right? This is like when the law came into play on, what was it, May something, you would get like the email about
Yeah,
all
so
this
many
for
emails
migrants,
and we still didn't
and
understand
have to
what's
accept, and it's still today. I mean, every web page you go, you have to click OK on like the cookie policy. That is like the outcome of the GDPR. And once you click on one of these links, right? Like, oh, what is our policy? You can click it, and then you can scroll for 5 minutes. It's like again, it's a legal paper if you want that says exactly very detailed what they do and the rights and everything. It's horrible.
Maybe we can pass the mic to Kenneth. So, Kenneth, you as a startup, as you have this online platform, I'm just asking like to know the startup perspective. When things like GDPR or PDPA come, are you guys usually aware of it? Do you know what it can impact you? Does it make it difficult for you to run your startup? That you take it seriously also, or how?
Well, PDPA is more Malaysian, right? And GDPR is so I think for GDPR, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not too familiar with it, but I think it only applies to companies that are 250 employees and above, right? In terms of enforcement of certain, I'm not sure, do you know that?
I didn't hear about it.
Okay, yeah.
Because I saw a video explaining it, they didn't mention that part, but I didn't manage to read it.
Right, because I can't remember, I didn't really do much research on the GDPR, so I'm not sure much about it, but when I read a few of the articles and I looked at some of the points, it felt to me like the worry is not of people's privacy or protecting people as they call it. I think the worry is more of that certain companies gain too much influence and power in that space. Like for example, you could have an app that says, if you want to send your location to your friend so that he can find you easily. But the moment you activate this, you open up a whole new dimension of one targeting, right? Companies can target you, they know exactly where you are, how you move. So this is very good for the companies, one economics, right? But at the same time, they gain so much data on the individual which they can use for other things, right? And I guess like this is one of the problems with like companies like Facebook in the US right now, where they are so powerful, and to a certain degree they have so much data on advertising targeting, where people in Russia are like trying to influence the political campaign using their ads. They create like 100 pages and they create content, and then they try to skew the election process. That's really dangerous. I think you could destroy a country just by using Facebook. You know? And of course, they make a lot of money in the process, right? But they really make so much money. Yeah. So I guess in the case of a startup, especially
So if you are a small startup, you don't have to worry much about GDPR. That's what you are saying.
no, but I think we need to be aware of it. It's just that most people aren't aware of it. Like GDPR is very big, so a lot of news companies report, right? And you gotta understand that where people get this information from is from the media. And the problem with the media today is that most of the distribution of media is on social networking companies like Facebook, right? And they have sort of killed their revenue streams because all the media content is free and the distribution is on Facebook. So media companies have lost a lot of revenue because of Facebook and all the social sites. And so the problem is that in order for them to make money, they have to create a lot of traffic on their site, right? So how do you get a lot of traffic to your site? You write sensationalized articles, right? And so GDPR will affect your privacy, and it sounds like a great story, so they covered it, right? But maybe in the case of Malaysia, when PDPA came out, maybe some people didn't really understand it, and there wasn't that many media companies covering it. So on a broad spectrum of things, people didn't know. Like for me, even to today, although I know about it, I don't really know in detail what it does. So So how will companies navigate something that they're not aware of? Something?
Let's say if the government come to you and told you, give me all the information you have about user A. So what's you going to do? Do you like have a clear idea what I should ask them?
So it really depends on the kind of data that they want from. Like for us, we don't collect a lot of private data. A lot of data that we collect is public. Like for example, what company do you work in? Like LinkedIn.
But you have, for example, the chat, right? So if they want a conversation between two people.
So how it works is we basically encrypt messages.
Okay,
most chat platforms already encrypt messages bidirectionally. So you can't decrypt it without a key, and that key is
without the user.
Yeah. So it's very difficult for them to get that kind of data. But if let's say they say, oh, I want your email address, well, then again, email addresses are something that you publicly share, or maybe to a certain degree. If you're a bit more influential, you don't really want to share it, but it's more of you don't want people spamming it, right? So we don't collect, say, financial data, because financial data, we think that companies like Stripe do a better job there. So we leverage on that.
So don't save their credit card.
So we don't save credit card information, we just use Stripe to build them. So the Stripe keeps the credit.
It's their responsibility.
Yeah, but maybe when we're bigger and we think that we can handle it, then we will introduce something like that. So we don't want to get into trouble for no reason. Anyone from the government here? Okay, good. Okay, so let me talk about it.
So I want to go the other way. Because we share data, because now all these companies have all this data about us, we have amazing search engine. So Google, based on our behavior, based on our, they read our emails, they give us good ads which is related to us. They suggested videos on YouTube which really we want to watch it. It's not like relevant. Even now Netflix, they studying your behavior, like when you pause, when you like skip a scene, so they understand. Okay, this guy, let's say, don't like car chase. So his version of the movie or of the the TV series, they will cut the car chase for you. So it's based on your behavior. So if you look at it, it's a good thing. We cannot say, oh, we have to be very private, like go nuts about it. It has some good side to it. It gives us a lot, especially in healthcare. If you look at healthcare, like with these Fitbits, I think it's improving the healthcare industry. Maybe you can get a discount on your health premium. So, what do you think? Don't you think there's a bright side for sharing all this data?
I mean, coming from my side, where I'm also developing smarter home solutions, where we're collecting a lot of data, like personal inventory, right?
That's actually very important because Google right now, they're building a city in Canada, in Toronto. It's going to be a smart city, and they're surveilling every single thing. They know, let's say, the heartbeat of everybody in that city. So this is how. This is how we will not really have a privacy in the future. This is what I think.
Yeah, I mean, when I was looking at how is it that we can keep some personal information private when we're trying to collect information like personal inventory or what people's consumption levels are, behaviors, using certain smart solutions. I also have the other side of the con side is that when we know, hey, you're drinking too much coffee, or when you're eating too much chocolate, if you have that information, do you then promote more chocolate to that person, or you promote a healthier living style to that person?
So I think that's the company, how to say, more of. Because now I think if they see you consuming a lot of chocolate, they will just flood you with more.
Exactly. So what do you do with that information? Yeah. And that's where the line seems to be crossed sometimes, is because people tend to use it to their advantage. you know, and mostly that what we want to know is like, hey, can we now, you know, even if our information is in the cloud, can we have a private cloud that no one has access to? That, you know, that the information, like my you know, one of our solutions is knowing what is in your closet. Can I keep that information to myself?
I think they should make it easier for users to opt in or opt out.
Exactly.
And it should be easy for them. Okay, I'm okay to share what's in my closet, and someone else is not okay with it.
Yeah.
So that's what the point. We need to have this right. And people need to be aware of this right, not just blindly follow the technology or what's.
Especially now with children that are getting tech comes naturally to them. Even my 4-year-old can download and uninstall programs into my phone, and you know, you don't need a genius to be able to download information from your phone to anywhere else around the world. You know, so they make it so much easier to share that information, so much easier for people to hack into that information. So, I mean, that's why there needs to be a ground up approach in the sense that we need to self-police ourselves. You know, we need to make sure we either put in more passwords or put in more. You know, I mean, of course, having the government
being conscious,
being
what
conscious,
to share, what not to share.
just being conscious about that. That's where I think, you know, as a mother, I mean, I try to instill that with my children. But I think as women, we have more, I guess, privacy tends to be more important to us because we tend to be the ones that, if let's say like Kim Kardashian with her sex tape being leaked, you know, for example, you won't want that to be, you know, part of your personal history in Facebook or anything, right?
Because
so it's
sometimes you allow them to share, to get this data, but the problem is when someone else managed to get access to this data. Like, I don't know if you know, guys, a few years ago there's that Sheznie Merican, it's like a dating for married people, and then more than 20 million accounts was leaked.
Yeah, and that became such a huge issue. Everyone's like, shit, now my wife will know that I've been having affairs.
Actually, many people got like divorced, families broken because of a leak like that.
So as soon as the information becomes personal, as I said, that's when it matters.
Yeah, and often it's too late at that time to appreciate. Okay,
first I want to say, you know, there's nothing wrong with eating chocolate. Just make sure it comes from the right country. I want to say something smarter than that. About the information or the data that we disclose, and you said we need to protect the data more, or like have better passwords and make sure it's not being hacked. But I think it starts already one step prior to that, like that we have really a good awareness about what we are sharing. And we discussed this before, right? Like today we can download a lot of apps. The app that's in my kid's phone, right? They have a lot of apps. It's crazy. And then I look at that, and of course most of them are games. It's like, what does the game do? Oh, you can just move the ball from left to right, and take care that your ball doesn't get like destroyed. Like, wow, amazing! That's a cool game. They can play it for hours. Then when I go there, it's like just click on the app to download it. It installs, and then it asks you like, if you're okay that this app also accesses all your contacts and all your pictures, like your gallery and your location and what else. I was like, why would this application where I can move the ball from left to right and not get killed, like want access to my pictures and my location and all my contacts? Like, that's insane, right? So of course I click no, but then it's like, okay. it's on my kids' phones also, right? And
I
so
think like people need to be educated when you use an app. Look for the developer, for example, who's developing this app. Is it a well-known company or is it like something you feel fishy about it? Like it's someone you don't know. Like it's not a company or a real company. So at least you do some background check about that app before like simply, just download. Like if you need a QR code app, don't just just download and look for the background, the rating, the developer. This.
I mean, so it's just convenience or we're lazy or something like that. Or as you say, it's like, oh no, I need it now. I need the QR code scanner, right? So whatever they want, I just give it, right? So it's a question like how much you give for what you get. Like for Facebook, we know we get an amazing platform where we can share our food pictures and we can connect with a lot of people and share our experience and we can also do nice events and live streamings and whatever. But I don't have Facebook, so I don't know all the features. But you get that, right? So you get something which is obviously cool, but what you give in return, that is also what you need to think about. And then the question like, is it worth it? So maybe in Facebook, yeah, it's worth it to give all your personal data or a lot of things you do, where you are, what you do, to which event you go, which are your friends, what did you eat yesterday, in return. But maybe for an app where you can just move a ball, you don't want to disclose all the locations or all the places that you go.
Okay. Do you think, maybe I can move the question to Kenneth. Okay, Kenneth. Do you think people start to be aware of their rights in digital privacy, or they just start to be like numb about it? Like they think like what the hell? Because I saw one statistic in US in 2017. Actually, people start to care less about digital privacy compared to the previous year. So, from your perspective, do you think people are, let's say in Malaysia, aware of that, or they just not really caring about
it? Let me think. So, like, my mom likes to forward a lot of this like robbery news on my WhatsApp groups.
Yeah.
So you have this family group, and then she's like, "Oh, this guy got raped, this guy got killed, this guy got da." And I'm like, yeah, whatever, right? So you get it now after a while. But until it happens to you, then holy shit, like why is this thing happening? Why isn't anyone doing anything wrong? So I think that's generally how humans behave. If it doesn't affect them, they generally don't care. And we're living in a world today where there's so much entertainment, so much noise, and so much distraction, right? So if it's like someone's privacy being violated and it's not mine, oh, Netflix, this is cool. So you just move on to the next more interesting thing. And I think it's gonna get worse. The future is, so I just came back from a speaking engagement in Penang yesterday, and they talked about, is it easier to start a startup today? I think it's really easy to start a company today, right? But it's really hard to get people to take notice of it right now. Compared to before, it's really hard to produce content. And now anyone can make content. So how is this related? Is we're going to move into a world where people are going to be more desensitized because of all the distractions that are in the world. And so definitely your privacy will be violated in time. As time reaches infinity, privacy reaches zero. So yeah. But of course, I guess it really depends on what it's used for, because like there are some benefits of disclosing certain information. For example, Zuckerberg has this thing where he said that people like ads. Have you read that? Anyone read about it? That Mark Zuckerberg actually said that people like ads. And the example he gave was like a train in North Korea. You're sitting in a train in North Korea, there's no ads, nothing, it's just a train. Right? Whereas in Japan, it's like, what is this thing? I think. So it depends on the kind of ad, right? So Facebook does it very well where even an ad is content, where you're sort of selling yet not selling, and it's entertaining. And if the targeting is very good, people kind of resonate and engage with it, so they like it. So ads kind of keep them in the platform. And today, for myself, I don't see a lot of posts from my friends. I see a lot of stuff on pages. and a lot of the page content is like boosted posts, but some of them are really entertaining. You know? So to a certain degree, it gives you the ability to target, maybe sell something or reach certain people, or you can create awareness. But of course, it can be used for bad. So this whole topic of privacy is actually a very it's a never-ending debate. I think like one of the other topics is like feminism. Like, there's a never-ending debate, and I don't think we'll ever arrive at a conclusion because it's very situational. Everyone kind of is in their own bubble until the bubbles cross.
Okay, Patrick, maybe I'll ask you. I forgot. Just let me go back. Okay, maybe we can answer this question. Okay, do you think that for GDPR, the government or European Union is really genuine about protecting people's privacy, or they are more about the money? Because you see there's a big money involved, so it's like a punishment for like the US companies, those big guys. What do you think about it?
And never saw it from that perspective. Yeah, it's about the money, but it's defined by competition, right? So it must be about the money also. No, I think it is really about protecting people. Yeah, absolutely. And I also kind of agree with Ken when he said before, it's like when we're too small or we're a startup or something like that, we shouldn't care. I don't agree with that entirely. We should just have a look into it. But then you cannot comply with it. It's impossible. I mean, it's just too big. But what I also want to say is like if no one is complaining about that, right? Nothing happens to you, and I mean, who wants to complain here? Who wants to complain or file a lawsuit against Grab if you're a EU citizen because they will not comply with GDPR? It's just in Europe also, right? I think first they will.
But maybe they want to make an example.
First, yeah.
They want to make an example of companies, and they pick.
Yeah, but they will not start in Malaysia with that, right? They will start in the EU itself, right? I think they will make sure that first all EU companies are complying with that, or maybe they check also Swiss companies are complying because there's the money also. But let's say in Europe in general, I think that's the main target. And then of course it's interesting to discover in the US also, because in the US we know there's a lot of lawyers which want to get money, so they will find something, right? And in the US the law is a way that you can get a lot of money from it if you file a complaint, right? And that's why people are going crazy in Europe to comply with that, because it's really a serious stuff. But in the end, you're a startup, you're a small medium enterprise. I don't think you're the primary target of that.
Yeah, I know. This is what I'm thinking. They maybe target Google, Facebook, or maybe some unicorns in Southeast Asia, in Japan.
Yeah, I think the big players are the first one. I mean, this is the guys that are collecting the huge amount of data. This is not about like one EU citizen taking a Grab ride here in Asia. This is not what people are looking for.
Maybe like a Grab is not very relevant, but for example, Facebook did some experiments on people where they can like try the experiment, like let's say change the mood of a group of people. So like flood them with sad news, with negative thing, and they see how their comments, how their status become, can they change, for example, the mood of a person to be a positive, happy, or to be a negative? And actually, they can do that. So, and you see with the Cambridge Analytica scandal, they can, like those companies who has all this data, they can make a party win or a certain person win. So I think that's maybe why the European Union is also concerned about what's going on.
Yeah, and I fully agree with that. I mean, again, the Colombia Analytics case is a very interesting case because it was basically Facebook data, which at the time where the data was collected, there was no law. It was not illegal at that time. Maybe it was not ethical, right? But it was not illegal at that time. Facebook just provided the platform, right? And what happened is like the guy who did all these surveys, so that's how it worked, right? He did surveys, and who wanted to participate and get $5 for the survey had to log in with the Facebook account. And of course, in the small written was like, okay, I agree also that you get all my personal data. And what they did is like they not only get their personal data, but also all the data of their contacts. And in the end, the whole data that was collected, Analytics sold like for the presidential election of Trump. And there was one more thing going on, which is now in the GDPR. Maybe that's the relationship here in this case. At the time, Facebook figured out that CA was doing that. They asked them to delete the data. That is the rights for deletion that they applied. And CA basically confirmed that they have done it.
But they didn't.
But they did not. That was like the illegal part of the whole story in the end. But from a Facebook point of view, maybe it was not ethical, and it was also not very smart what they did. But I'm also not a lawyer, but I don't see like something like from a legal perspective that was going wrong there.
Maybe I will go to the last question. Maybe I can talk to Shez. Okay, now people are so used to free services. They want everything free. And if you see Google, 90% of their income come from advertising. I think also a similar case to Facebook. So most of the people, they want free service, and then they want their privacy to be protected. So don't you think the delusional here, like it's either you pay with your money or you pay with your data?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, in fact, would rather get it for free instead of paying a premium price to not see the ad. You know, like when some apps you can actually pay a premium subscription where you don't want any ads, for example. But the reason being is that it's human nature. I mean, everyone wants something free. Just like how TV.
But actually, there's nothing free.
There's nothing free. There's not actually free because you're selling your data. You're saying you're selling it without data instead of the money, right?
I was checking the other day, like let's say for Facebook, I think the one US Facebook user is worth more than $200.
Exactly, because imagine if a startup were to even just put up a Facebook ad running at $10 a day, just that one company is paying $10 for a few hundred people, right? For example, and that's multiplied by millions of companies that are on Facebook, right? I think it's no longer a pro and con of it being free. It's more like, hey, do you want your information to be accessed by so many people? And then.
Do you think it can be a solution like for those companies to introduce a subscription model where your data will not be collected for advertising reason and you will not see any ads?
Yeah, they can. I mean, just like how, like now when you can fast forward ads on TV, for example. There's an option for that.
Yeah, but why is nobody doing this? Is it because maybe now data worth more than money?
Probably. Yeah. So I think we'll come to a point where they will actually have that option to be able to not have any ads. Because I think Spotify does that. Spotify Premium does that.
Yeah.
Spotify Premium does that. So you will have an option for.
But I think they still collecting your data.
Yeah, they still.
You won't see the ads, but they still.
Yeah, you won't see the ads, but they still collecting it.
Anybody like to add anything? Kenneth or Patrick on this topic or any other thing?
No.
I think. Okay, Patrick, anything?
Well, I wanted to ask Ken, so how does your subscription model work? Is ad free, like as a default, or is that even for you an option to say, okay, you can access it for free, but then we selling ads or something like that?
So for in the case of say Facebook, right? I'll get to my thing. But in the case of Facebook, they're running a very big platform and it costs a lot of money to operate. And the only scalable model that they can actually adopt is really advertising because everyone's basically there. And I really don't think a subscription model may work for that. But I think Facebook is trying to go into e-commerce because there's a lot of people there and you could actually target products and monetize on other sources. So I think it really depends on the type of a business model. And so in our case, we're relatively new, so we want to keep the service free, but you got to sustain the business. So how we sustain the business is through services, where we basically we have a lot of business people on the platform, and business people have certain needs, right? They may need taxation, they may need accounting services. So we monetize through these forms of revenue stream. But I don't think this is a very scalable model where you can replace advertising revenue, because advertising revenue is like, if you have $100, it's $100 in whatever you keep. Yeah, of course you have your costs and all that, but so does if you charge for a product, right? You make a margin off the product. But in the case of advertising, you make 100% of just leaving the thing on. And so the margin for advertising is really high, and that's probably why these companies keep doing it.
Yeah, even WhatsApp last time, it used to be, it has some subscription, small fees, but now after Facebook bought it, they're going to introduce ads to WhatsApp soon.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we come to the end of the discussion. I would like to thank our guests and thank you everyone for coming. Okay, yeah, we have that question.
Just one question.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Right, good afternoon everyone. My name is Melvin. Thank you for the panel discussion. I really like the topics that was brought up, and you touch on like the government's perspective, individuals' perspective, as well, a little bit of the startups' perspective. Just want to get your opinion and your thoughts about like for example on LinkedIn, right? So the way LinkedIn work is I put my profile up and I'm attached to this company, I'm working for this company. And sometimes it's because I'm an active user of LinkedIn, I post things like the activities that's happening from a company's event or an external event I'm attending. So what's your take on this? Because some companies, like for example multinational companies, take it on a very different perspective. It's kind of like I should leave it to the marketing and branding people to do this because it affects my company's privacy policy. But then again, like on the other side, startups or even smaller companies and SMEs are using this advantage because they know their employees are very good in kind of like indirectly branding a company. So from all three of you are CEOs, I just want to hear like what's your opinion on this? Because myself, I represent my company. The company I just resigned yesterday. But before I was very actively, kind of like indirectly helping to grow the company because I'm a business developer. But yeah, some people are okay with it, some people are not. So I just want to hear like three CEOs. What's your point and what's your opinion on this? How do you think about like this being active on LinkedIn affects company digital company policy, privacy policies?
Okay, I can guess draw from my personal experience. I used to work for Petronas, so they were, I guess, famous for always saying no comment for a lot of their, especially with media, and it's actually boils down to your company's communication policy. You know, if it's okay, you know, if it's not something that will damage the reputation of the company, I think it's okay about it. But if it shows that the company in a bad light, I guess, then that would probably be something that we would question, why did you put out the information? So there was one question that a reporter had asked GM or Petronas, hey, why are you into solar technology when you're an oil and gas company? That was just a very simple question, and it made the front page of the news because he said no comment. So that means that either you have something to hide, or you just don't know your shit. You don't know your information. And actually, we knew that he just didn't know how to respond to that information because he wasn't part of the technology agenda that Petronas was going into. Solar was going into newer technology that was going into future technologies because to sustain energy in a bigger part of it. So for being LinkedIn as the platform that if you were to share information like that, if you knew insider information and that got into LinkedIn and it became part of their news, for example, can you imagine the implication? Whether it's going to be bad for the company or it's going to be good for the company. So again, as you being, even as the CEOs and even as employees, you kind of have to weigh that. Weigh that and see, is it going to put you in a bad light or is it going to put the company in a bad light? And it comes to the morality, I guess, morality of the situation.
Sometimes there's a price to pay.
Well, I think sometimes companies care more about their stock price, so it affects the stock price. So I guess when you're a smaller company, any publicity is kind of good because you can correct it later with money. It's better that people know you when because if you're a small company, let's say you're a startup, no one cares about you. You don't exist. So if you exist, it's better than not existing. But of course, there's also a fine line of how bad your reputation is, right? You don't want to start on a really bad side of things. But if let's say employees are just posting events, hey, I'm here, I'm doing this, Beam is at a Startups.zone event. If you are a smaller scale company, that is actually quite beneficial because your brand kind of gets out there. But I guess when you get to a point of say a monopoly or a very large corporate company, then I think it's a bit different already because your PR matters a lot, right? That's why they have PR teams. And you're not just dealing with your image, you're dealing with investors' money because they are pumping millions and some idiot might just destroy the stock price and all these guys lose money and they pull out and then it could affect a lot of things. And when investors pull out, maybe clients start pulling out, it could even damage the company. So I guess that's why they're very cautious because what you're saying is that you're probably from a corporate, right? A bigger company. Is that correct?
It's kind of in between the corporate and the startup. It's a subsidiary of a corporate company, but it has a very startup environment.
I guess. Okay, so there's a subsidiary of the corporate, so there is a share structure involved there.
Yes.
You were not fired because you did not comply with social media guidelines.
They actually hired me for a reason.
No, but I would in general agree with Ken here. I don't have much more to add. If you're a small company, you're a startup, and post as much as you can, and let people post also. I mean, we had once a situation in the former company I worked, it was in IT security, that we were on a company event. Okay, I managed a couple of operational teams. We run 24/7 services, and we had an event, a company event with the Swiss team. And the operations center in US and Mexico were working at that time, and we were having some drinks, I would say. And at that time, some systems of the customers went down, and they tried to reach the direct contacts in Switzerland, but no one really could reply to the calls anymore. But the Mexican team was there, right? So they took over, they solved everything, and the next day I had to be on phone calls with the customer because they saw on social media some of the Swiss guys posting on Facebook that we had a good party and we were having a lot of drinks, right? Having party, right? The customer was screwed with some systems. even though someone was taking care, right? But it was not really good. It was not a convenient situation. And the company director later decided to have a social media policy, right? So tell employees or give the guideline what you can post and what you cannot post. That was a little bit, I mean, it's always two sides, right? On one side, you want people to post as much as you can. Some people even say there's no bad PR, but that was more than PR, right? It was just like bad consequence.
I think it's a very good question. Anybody else has a question? We take two more questions only.
Hello, Patrick, Ken, and Sheznie. Thank you for coming.
You introduce yourself and to which your question.
My name is Yano. So I am very interested with what Patrick said about GDPR in EU, and it affects all EU citizens, right? Everywhere in the world. So I think in terms of perspective, it's good for privacy of citizens. So EU is trying to say they are protecting their citizens while at the same time making money if the companies do not comply with GDPR. So I want to talk about perspective of global economy. If let's say EU put a lot of regulations on how to do business in their continent in a sense, so maybe all these companies, especially from the US, Facebook, Twitter, all these tech companies, they will try to see growth in the other area, maybe going to Asia or Africa, Australia, or even South America. So in a sense, maybe it's good for other developing markets to grab this. I mean, maybe the government will think I will sell the data of my citizens and make growth, while the company will say I won't go into EU, I will go into all these other markets because I can have more growth, right? So in a sense, maybe it's not that good for developed market, but it's good for developing markets. What do you think about it? And all other panelists can also answer about it.
Yes, I think that is true because, like, I mean, when you impose certain regulations or restrictions that, especially that affect businesses, definitely they will search elsewhere for opportunities. I think it really depends on the business, right? For Facebook and all these guys, I think their goal is global. They want to go everywhere. But like, let's say you're trying to sell a product, like maybe an IoT product, maybe they will reconsider where they go. So we see this a lot in China right now. Right? I was based in China. So when I moved to China, they still hadn't, the trade war hasn't escalated so much yet. But right now the trade war is escalating very quickly. And a lot of Chinese businesses are trying to find alternative markets instead of selling to the US because of the tax. And so where do they go? Southeast Asia. So Southeast Asia is getting a lot of Chinese money coming in right now. And in fact, a lot of Chinese companies are also trying to move their factories and manufacturing plants to Southeast Asia. Unfortunately, they don't have very good relationships with some countries in Southeast Asia, like Philippines doesn't really like that. So it might be beneficial for, say, countries like Malaysia, where we are manufacturing focused. We have a lot of raw material, quite good talent here for manufacturing. So in the case of GDPR, it definitely will affect companies trying to go into, well, I guess companies operating there may cut certain things as well. So it may affect the economy as a whole. But where they go to next is probably something you can't identify.
Okay. Is there any more question? Okay, I think that brings us to the end.
Thank you, Mr. Homam. Ladies and gentlemen, the Q&A session brings us to the end of our Startups.zone Meetup. On behalf of the organizing committee, we would like to express our sincere gratitude to our distinguished panelists. We would also like to express our sincere appreciation to Common Ground for providing us with the venue.
Thank you.
And thank you, all of you, for your support and participation. We hope to see you again in future events. Okay, before we adjourn, I would like to request participants to grab your phones and rate this event at http://rate.startups.zone. I think we will project the URL.
Download the app first. Share all your pictures.
Okay.
You gotta log into Facebook.
Your constructive feedback is highly appreciated in order for us to further improve future events. Thank you and have a pleasant evening.